Heyo! Welcome back everybody, this is Zion Chiquino. I've got another tutorial for you. Today we're going to look at some PvT on Ohana. This is a build by Naniwa. Of course, everybody probably knows Naniwa. If you're familiar with the StarCraft 2 scene, he's one of the best Protoss foreigners in the world. And he has got some great builds. I remember the first time, like way back in the day, his first MLG win, he had this sick 2-gate opening versus Terran. I use it all the time. So this is another one of his really good builds. So let me talk about this build a little bit. I'm going to show you an example here on Ohana. This is one of the maps. He uses this on mostly. But I think for lower league players, if you just execute this build well, you'll find it's pretty much useful on any map. So the style of this build is, it's a nice mix of macro with strong pressure. So it revolves around going gateway, robo, gateway, Nexus, and then attacking your Terran opponent and hitting them about the time before stem gets finished if they go for a fast expansion. Now, if they don't go for a fast expansion, they're doing a one-base play, you're still set up pretty well with enough production to have a good chance to deal with any type of attack. So I'm not going to run through all the build order, just reading things off. I'm going to actually have the entire build order will be in the description, so you can just open up the description down there below the video, highlight everything, copy paste it into a notepad, wherever you want to keep it. So I'm just going to go over the key points. First off, let's talk about the Chronoboost. So the first 3 Chronoboosts go on the Nexus. Of course, that's to increase probe production. And after that, the next 2 Chronoboosts go on the Cybernetics Core to get warp gates done. And then after that, the rest of your Chronoboosts pretty much go on your Robotics Facility to get those Immortals and Observer out quickly. Because that's really what this attack hinges on. Your attack will hit about the 8-minute mark. You'll have 2 Immortals, 4 Stalkers, 4 Sentries, 1 Zelot, and 1 Observer. It's kind of helpful, maybe if you remember just those number of units, it'll help you remember what you need to make when. That way the build order comes a little bit more familiar to you. So right off the bat here, he's going for a Zelot on this map. I think going Zelot is a safe play to do versus most Terran players. I know, especially in higher leagues, Terran players, whenever they suspect you're going to go for a Nexus, they'll do an engineer block on your expansion. So they'll put an engineering bay down here, and it's really hard to take that out. It just takes forever to kill that with a Stalker. So making that first Zelot really helps you cut down that a little bit quicker. So I think that's just a good, safe, and solid way to play PvT currently. And of course, follow that up with a Sentry. We're going to have 2 Assimilators on this build. The second position here of this pylon allows him to, of course, warp down here on the low ground. And he has this other pylon down here, which is a good spotter for drops. This is a really common spot for drops, and he always puts his pylons way down here on the edge of his base so he can get it just a little bit more, even that split-second difference in noticing whenever his opponent's going to drop his base. And like I said, I'm not going to go over every single timing for all the buildings, like wind supply, which you should make when. You can find that in the description. I'm just going to kind of talk about the overarching strategy here. So he makes his Sentries first. That's kind of what he spends most of his gas on in units at the beginning. You can make, I think he gets out 2 Sentries out of his first warp gate before warp gate actually finishes. Then he makes the robo. Then he follows it up with another gateway. 2 gateways and a robo may not sound like a lot, but he makes a lot of units out of these 3 buildings, and it does a lot of devastating damage to a Terran player. So the second that Robotics Facility gets done, you're going to start spending all of your Chronoboosts, like I was talking about earlier, all of the Chronoboosts on the Robotics Facility. This thing is your key production building that'll be building all of your high-value tech units. Another thing I want to talk about. So he's got his guys down here on the low ground. He hasn't yet scouted out his opponent. Of course, this is a 2-player map. But what he has done is he scouted the map. I mean, if you look at his vision, you can see he scouted this whole left side here, all over here, way up here. I mean, everything on the right, pretty much. You can see everything he scouted with this probe. Now, he sends the probe out to scout at 22 supply. This is just to look for proxies. He wants to look for like a proxy factory, proxy starport, something like that. That's the whole point of scouting the map as he did at that section of the map, of the game. After he gets that 20-second supply pylon down. So that's just something to keep in mind. So once again, let's continue on. Like I said, you get your expansion down, and then you push out with your army. You do have Sentries and Zealots out, so if he does do some type of really aggressive attack, you can buy some time, throw down some force fields. Since you got your Sentries out fairly early, you should have enough to throw down at least 2 force fields per Sentry. There goes the Nexus down, and the first Immortal comes out. I like the positioning. He's kind of hiding the Immortal up here on the high ground. You know, you don't want to have it down here in the low ground, if at all possible. You know, if you can hide it for as long as possible, that's kind of the benefit. But, I mean, it really just depends on how sneaky you want to be in this situation. So, you remember the numbers of units we were attacking with earlier. We're going to go with 2 Immortals, 4 Sentries, 4 Stalkers, 1 Zealot, 1 Observer. Now, the Observer is heading out across the map, and he already has a Proxy Pylon going down. This is going to be your key warp-in position. Now, the second Immortal is done. This is kind of your timing. Whenever that second Immortal finishes, that's kind of like go. That's like go mode. That's, you know, you have your 2 Immortals, your 4 Sentries, and 1 Zealot, and you're ready to push. This is where this further down pylon comes into effect. If you happen to lose this pylon, he scouts or just picks it off maybe, that's bad, but you still have a warp in right here that you can warp in on the low ground and attack from this position. So from now on, he's going to make pure Stalkers. So we're going to go with 4 Stalkers at this point. So we're just going to have pure Stalkers warped in. Now, Stalkers are nice because they're the fastest unit in the Protoss army from what we already have, so it's easy to warp them here in the back and have them easily catch up to your army. So there's 2 more Stalkers. There's the first 2 Stalkers being warped in. Nexus is going to go down. He's going to rally all the workers down here. He has this pylon here. As his Proxy Pylon, he's going to warp in 2 more Stalkers. Actually, I think he warped them. Yeah, he's probably going to warp them in right here. And then the attack is going to commence. And there's the 2 more Stalkers. And he's bringing the probe down here to have an even closer Proxy Pylon because he really wants to do some damage. So let's look at the Terran army and their base in this map, in this situation for the time. So this is a really, really common opening this Terran player is doing. He's going to open with 3 barracks after, actually it's barracks, command center, and then 2 more barracks, and then factory, and he eventually gets a starport here. And he's researching Tech Lab. He's researching STEM. Now, this was a pretty quick STEM, you know. Relatively to this build, after the command center, he gets a Tech Lab, and then he starts researching STEM right away. He didn't research anything else before this. So this STEM is coming relatively quick for the particular build he's doing. Now, one reason Ohana is really good for this map is it has 2 entrances. And anytime you're trying to be aggressive, having 2 entrances always is better than having 1 entrance, of course. This map has rocks. You know, these rocks have 2,000 life. But because we're attacking with 2 Immortals, these Immortals kill rocks so fast. Now, if this was just, you know, Sentries and Zealots, you know, these destructible rocks would be here all day long, and it would take forever to kill them, and your opponent could quickly throw up some more bunkers. But because we have Immortals, and Immortals do serious damage, 50 damage versus armored, and of course, these destructible rocks are armored, those things are going to fall down very quickly. Now, our Terran player here is going to throw down some bunkers to try and deal with this. 2 more here on the low ground, and even a 5th one up on the high ground. Let's see how Naniwa deals with this attack, how he, you know, attacks with his army. So he's keeping his units kind of in the back here. Of course, we've got amazing force fields. Look at that. So you can't even get anything in there. That thing just dies so quickly. Great force fields. He only used 3 there. He probably could have got away with using 2, but he uses 3. And he uses a Guardian Shield. Now, at this point, his army is super strong. He's got a super strong army. He's got some Stalkers. He's got a lot of Sentries. He can really zone out his opponent if he decides to rush him with SCVs and Marines. And he's, you know, just takes it. You know, made it look pretty easy. And 2 more force fields go down. Going to take down that bunker, no problem. And, I mean, he essentially reclaimed the expansion for himself. All the bunkers went down. I don't think he lost a single unit here. 4 Stalkers, he warped in 2 more, and as those 4 Sentries. Actually, he lost, nope, he didn't, maybe he warped in the Zealot, or that was the same Zealot from earlier. I'm not quite sure, but, you know, took very, very few losses here, even just a little bit of damage on this 1 Stalker, and forced the Terran player to fall back. So great things about this timing is hits before STEM, and the Immortals just crush bunkers so fast. The key things you have to do is just be kind of slow with your army, play it slow and steady, take down the bunkers like we saw him do it, throw down the force field so they can't repair them, and if your opponent does decide to bum rush you with just a bunch of Marines and SCVs, just back up a little bit, throw down some force fields, separate the Marines so you're just killing the SCVs, and at that point you can just continue to push after that. But this is a great build. I've used it a lot in ladder myself. I think it's pretty strong. If you're going to use this in lower leagues, I think it's pretty usable on any map. If you get the timings down, this is going to strike with so much power, your opponent is going to be like, it's going to be hard to stop. I'm just using this map an example because this is like a really extreme version on Ohana here, why it's so powerful in this situation, like super high level where everything matters. But for me, lower league players, just do this build in all of your PvT games and let me know how it goes. See if you guys do well with it. I've been doing pretty well with it myself on ladder. So that's the build here. We can see the status after he takes on the expansion is he has most of his army. The Terran player doesn't have an expansion. He has an expansion. He's got a lot of workers there, and he's still on 2 gateways and a robo. One thing he does after he's successful in taking down the expansion, he likes to build a Twilight Council. He likes to build a forge, and then he puts up 4 more gateways. And that's kind of like the production he goes with and the tech he goes with after this push. In this situation, depending on how much damage you did, how many units you killed, you can either try and be gritty and push up the ramp, deal a lot of damage, go for the killing blow, or you could stay back, play it safe, a little bit more macro style. Like I said, build those tech buildings like I was talking about, the Cybernetics Core, or sorry, the Twilight Council, and the Forge for armor and attack upgrades, and 4 more gateways, and you'll be sitting pretty. You have a lot of production, and you can just kind of either stop your opponent from dealing damage to you, or you can just kind of go back home and attack him again once you get a third up. That's all up to you what you want to do at this point. This is kind of just like a really good opening build that you guys can use on ladder. So that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. It's been a while since I've done a strategy video, and I've just been looking for something to do on for the longest time. And so thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know how it goes for you.